It seems like just yesterday when we were in the 1960s with its hippies, drug culture, JFK, and cryonics. Well, here it is 20 years later, and most of those images are gone, but not cryonics. That's where people are frozen in hopes of being brought back to life in the future. Amy Huggins, you're here to tell us that cryonics is alive and well in South Florida.
Right, Ed. We used to hear a lot about this business of people freezing themselves, and then it seemed that the idea sort of died out. Well, it didn't. It's just that the novelty wore off, which is why we haven't heard about this death wish until now.
I think it's ridiculous.
Well, they got a lot of guts.
That's like really kind of far out to me, okay?
Well, I'm just not interested in being looked at 2,000 years from now.
But some people are, like this guy and these men. They're members of the South Florida Cryonics Society, and they want to be frozen when they die.
We have good reason to believe that in the future, technology will be developed to revive these people, to cure whatever caused them to die, and they will live a very long time after that.
Bill Falloon is one of 16 people in South Florida who've made arrangements to be frozen. This area is one of the few cryonic centers in the world. Michigan and California are the other hot spots in which freezings have generated a lot of interest. Our interest in this decades-old procedure was revived by this little boy who was literally frozen to death this winter but was brought back to life. His body temperature was 62 degrees.
We've done research where we've dropped the temperature much lower than what that little boy did and brought the animals back to life. And I'm talking about dogs, which are very similar to human beings. So we know it can be done, but it does prove to other people that dead things can be brought back to life.
Falloon, like most others who want to be frozen, fears death and is prepared to fight the inevitable every step of the way. Falloon's made it his business. He runs this store which sells life extension pills and books, inspiring customers with messages like this.
Are you afraid of dying? Is that what you do?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm fearful of it, and this helps relieve some of the fear a little bit. Not a lot, but, you know, some.
Glenn Tupler is president of the South Florida Cryonics Society. His father, Austin, helped found it back in the 60s. Two other family members also belong, but father is not quite as hopeful as his sons.
It isn't as simple as my son might think it is. There's a tremendous amount of problems involved, and that doesn't mean there isn't hope.
And that hope goes light years beyond current technology, because even if cancer and all other terminal illnesses could be cured, nobody's quite figured out how to bring somebody out of the deep freeze in good shape and alive, except in the movies.
Okay, ready to start the thaw.
A prehistoric man came back to life in Iceman simply by dripping dry. That movie also addressed some of the problems cryonics could cause should the masses be brought back to life someday.
You're going to freeze everyone with cancer and bring them back when there's a cure.
Yes.
Then what are you going to do with them?
I don't think that's the main issue, Shepard.
Yeah, they won't know a living soul.
The relatives will spend all their money.
I mean, are we going to have waves of freeze-dried old folks living in Miami Beach?
Those are the issues we might not even have to confront, as the realities of the situation seem so, well, unreal. Broward County Medical Examiner Dr. Ronald Wright is one of the many who believes there's an infinitesimal possibility that people who are frozen can be brought back to life.
Sure, there's a possibility I can fly.
But sperm and blood plasma are frozen every day without problems.
Unfortunately, there's a big difference between saving individual cell lines and saving an entire organism. In spite of work which has been done for years and years, mammals just don't freeze well.
Just how are people frozen? At the moment of death, their blood is very slowly replaced by a biological kind of antifreeze, while their temperature is lowered to minus 390 degrees. Then they're placed in a capsule with a constant supply of liquid nitrogen to keep them frozen. Problem is that a few of the 30 people who've been frozen have been thawed, and their spines were all cracked in several places. Medicine will have to find a cure for that and the other damage that freezing can do. Finally, there's the cost. Just joining the South Florida Cryonics Society means $150 in dues each year. And if you want to be frozen, you'll have to take out a $100,000 life insurance policy, which takes care of an endless supply of liquid nitrogen. Keeping someone in cryonic suspension costs about $240 a month. Because of the expense, most people who have the means to be frozen are men. They're often young and not very religious.
We don't know that there's a heaven or a hell, you know, and if there is, then, you know, a lot of us have no worries. But just in case there isn't, it's, I think, a way of cushioning the idea of dying, you know, by having in your mind that there's a possibility that you might be able to come back.
Most religious people seem to think that they're going somewhere and they're going to definitely go there, but we know that the chances of coming back to life at this point are less than optimal.
Despite their lack of religious faith, people who want to be frozen have great faith that this future world is a place they want to live in. And ironically, the man who feels he has great control over his own destiny, Glenn Tupler, looks at all of this with a fatalistic point of view.
What do you have to lose? I mean, say you're frozen for 50, 60, 100 years. What do you have to lose? If it doesn't work, the most that can happen is you'll be dead.
Amy, it seems like there are an awful lot of stumbling blocks to someone being frozen after death. For instance, if a person dies of a suspicious nature, there always has to be an autopsy.
Yeah, that's right, and that's a definite problem, as anyone who is taken apart, so to speak, and then put back together again, it's doubtful they could be brought back to life under any circumstance.
Not for me, mind you, but how do you sign up?
Well, first you want to join the South Florida Cryonics Society. You got to do that, and you got to visit your lawyer, because there are more than 20 legal documents that you've got to sign if you want to make all the preparations to be frozen later on. And by the way, Walt Disney is not frozen, at least according to a recent article in Esquire magazine.
Another chilling story from the annals of montage.